Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today I am making a tattered lace Christmas card. And as you can see, I've got quite a selection of dies in front of me that I am hoping to use or anticipating to use. So we've got here lovely reindeer, the sleigh, the winter town, snowflake, some squares and the panorama set of dies. So we're going to be making a panorama card and a scene, a Christmas scene. So as we go through, I'll tell you what dies exactly I'm using. Alright, so let's get going. Okay, so I've put together my panorama card and created my layers. So what we need to do now is start the decorating. Now if you want to see how I actually made the panorama card, then I will put a link below this video explaining exactly how you make them. Okay, so let's now get going with making our snow scene. Okay, so what I'm wanting to create is like a winter Christmas town scene, and so for each layer on my panorama I want to have like one layer of whatever it is, whether it's houses or trees or hills, and then on top of that, slightly decoupaged, another layer. So for my decoupage layer, these inner pieces that came out when I was cutting my apertures for on my panorama base card will be perfect. But for the main part that needs to stick behind, I need to cut some more card, because obviously it needs to be big enough that it can go behind the aperture. So for this large one, I'm using the number 15 rectangle die. Now I'm not too worried about the height because obviously that's going to be different anyway, so that's not a problem. It's only the width. And then for these two, I've got the next one down, which is the number 14, which again is just going to be a nice fit and making sure that they're both perfectly secure behind. So I'm going to cut two for here and one for here. That's that piece cut out. Now I need to cut two more in the smaller die. So that's two of those smaller ones done. Okay, so now we're going to get started and actually cutting out these layers into actually something. So I've got my piece that's going to go behind once I've cut it, and then this piece which will nicely sit within that aperture as a decoupage layer. So that's our two layers for this is our front part of the panorama, not the very front frame but the one in from that. So let's get this piece first and pop that like so. I want it sideways because I know that what I want is long. It's going to be little houses and they're coming along that way, so I need them to be sure that they're the right way up, because what we're going to be using is Winter Town. I love these dies, they're so pretty. You get lots in here. You get a whole row of houses, a whole row of people with little street lights, a Christmas tree, then a sort of silhouette for the top of some houses, and then you get a little die with some little houses, which is really cute, and you can use that for, obviously for all dimension. So we're going to pop that one in first up here. Now we don't need it. Now that's the thing that we need to work out, because the die has no cut bottom, so it's going to cut out all this top edge and all this detail, but it will leave the bottom. So if I put this up here, this piece would remain. So I need to position it at the height that I want it to be. We need to leave enough room at the bottom so that it can stick on the bottom of our frame here. Now the other thing I need to do is make sure that my houses go right over the edge. Okay, that's perfect. And then putting our plates on top and then running that through the machine. Now this has got a little bit more detail to it, so I think just to be sure that it cuts through, because it's quite thick cardstock, it's worth just popping it through again. Okay, there we go. And you can see what I mean about it doesn't cut the bottom, so you leave all that there. And then we've got all these little windows and things, so we need to pop these all out. So just using my finger, they're just so loose that they're just going to pop out nice and easily. There we go, isn't that gorgeous? And I just literally carried on running my nail over it. But if you don't want to use your nail or haven't got a nail, just use a little pokey tool and pop them out. But it looks really fabulous, doesn't it? So this is the one that's going to sit behind. We're going to stick that down. So now we're going to cut our next layer, which is the inner part of our aperture, which we know is a perfect fit, and we'll then decoupage up and have the right edges and size and everything, so that would be great. So for that I'm going to be using another element of our winter town, and it's this one here with the Christmas tree, and around it you can see there's the people and the little street lamp, etc. So we're going to now I cut it out once already, and I cut it right at the bottom of my aperture sort of piece that we've got here, the piece that came out of the aperture. But what occurred to me, and it came out really nicely, but it's then didn't, if you look here, this is the piece, and I was just going to stick it 3D it, but they're such delicate pieces that what I think I need to do is it slightly differently. So I'm going to now cut it again, and I'm going to cut it with a bit more on the bottom here. So I'm just popping that down sort of about like that, with a bit of a gap there at the bottom, so that we have a little bit of something to work with. And then back again, just because it's a little bit more intricate, and then lift that up, and we've got, just pop these pieces out, and one just here. I don't want to bend any of them, so there we go. So there is our little people with the Christmas tree. Isn't that absolutely adorable? So now what we want to do is the layer behind, so the next part of our panorama, and this one has a slightly smaller aperture. Okay, so we've got our bigger piece here that's going to sit behind, and then we've got a smaller piece which is what fits our aperture. Okay, so again we're going to be using another piece from our winter town, and this time it's going to be this skyline here, just to create a bit of extra interest. So, and again that dimension, the skyline really adds effect. Now because the next layer visually would be the sort of the smaller piece, the aperture piece of card, this is the piece that we need to cut our skyline on. So it's about there, and again we need to actually adjust that slightly, thinking about it, because we need enough at the bottom for it to stick to the piece below, so I need to take that up. Okay, so just run that through, and then what we've got is this cut out beautifully, and what we need to do is just cut across here and across here. I don't want to cut this line anymore because I don't want to lose these centre trees here. So if you cut that you would do. So let's just cut across to there, and then across to here, like so. And as I say, if we cut this piece, these trees would go, and we don't want to lose those. They look really nice, so we're going to leave those. That gives us our nice hill, and then when it sits behind the aperture we can position that where we need it to be, and that just looks really, really effective. Okay, so now we want to cut a couple of other elements. ready to attach at different points of our card. So the first thing I want to do is cut our lovely reindeer and sleigh. So I've got some scraps here from the pieces that we had earlier, so hopefully we'll be able to fit some of these in and use them up. And then we're going to put our acrylic plate on top. And because of the detail, we want to run it through again the other way, just to be sure it's cut through, because it is quite thick cardstock. Okay. That just popped off easily. There we go. Now these are very delicate because of the intricate swirls, so just when you unhook them, just be careful. There we go. And you can see there's just a few little pieces here that we just want to pop out with our fingers. So there's our sleigh. Isn't that absolutely stunning? And there he is. Doesn't he look gorgeous? So again, just a little bit of poking with the poker tool just to get those last little bits out, just to be sure that we don't rip anything. But it doesn't take any time, it's just about being a little bit cautious because of the little twirls. Okay, so now we want to cut the next thing. Okay, so then I've got another piece of scrap card left over from earlier, and I'm going to cut out the Christmas lights washing line. It's a really nice little die. Just pop that down on there and then run that through. And then back again. And yep, that's cut through perfectly. Just give it a bit of a wallop, and that just loosens it up, and then you can pull it out without bending it or anything. And I think that looks really, really nice. Okay, so the next one I'm going to cut is called Spring Edge, which I know sounds kind of weird for a Christmas card and one that's got all the snow, but I think, you know, if we do it in white and it doesn't cause too much of a problem. And this hasn't got a cutting edge at the bottom either, so we're just going to give it enough space at the bottom that it will be able to be stuck. So, and then we can always shorten that as well if necessary. So we're just going to pop that on there and put it through. And I'm just going to run it through a couple of times because it is quite an intricate die. And it's not worth worrying about, and we'll just give it a couple of goes just to be sure that it's cut all the way through. Okay. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's just slid off, so now here it didn't quite reach the edges, so we're just going to take our scissors and snip that piece through, and the same on the other side. And again, just be careful with this where it's intricate around these little leaves and things. There we go. And then all we want to do is just pop out all of this bit here. And there we go. Doesn't that look gorgeous? Okay, so the last thing we want to cut is our little snowflakes, and we've got snowflakes here and little bells, so it's all quite cute. Now just run that through. Okay, so one's already fallen out, and so the little, oh, here's another one. So we've got a couple already. again, it's quite delicate with the little pieces, they can get caught up, but if you're just careful you'll get them out. And then these little circles, if you can't get them out, if you haven't got a nail, just use your pokey tool. There we go, isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to add some lovely shimmer to my layers so that it just looks really pretty and snowy, and you know, the reason why everything's white really, because otherwise it's kind of weird as to why it's all being cut out in white cardstock, whereas I think if you crystal it up it makes it really clear that it is meant to be a snowy scene. So I've got here my box of crystal glitter, my craft mat and my Zig two-way pen, and this will just put onto the top here of my skyline, because we don't want it all the way down, we want it just on the tops as if it snowed. We'll just give that a second to dry a little, and then the same with our hillside here, just over the top of our hill onto our trees. There we go. And now we're just gonna hop that one in to my glitter. And there, hopefully you can see how pretty that looks. Isn't that gorgeous? And then we'll do the same with this layer here, a little bit more carefully because the trees, we don't want to bend them. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so I'm going to do the other layers, and also I stamped and cut out a tag from this tag. Die was from the Panorama set, so I'm going to go around the edge of that as well, just using my... Okay, so now we need to start putting our layers together. So here is our first layer of the inside layers, not the outside frame, and we know that because it's the biggest aperture. So we've got our little houses. Hopefully you can see the lovely sparkle on that, and we've got our people. So what I want to do is put this piece directly against the back of our frame here, and then using just a tape pen, and then the next piece, the houses, I'm going to pop on using some 3D foam, going backwards, so away. So now I'm just making sure, yep, we've got this correct. So we're going to pop this on the back here in position, just making sure the two sides line up. Okay, now don't worry about the fact that the tree's a little bit wobbly, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a piece of foam tape to the back of our tree, like so. That's the only piece I want with the foam tape on there. The rest I'm going to put onto my little house, and those are going to sit next on foam tape, and I think we'll do like a double thickness. And then all we need to do is take our frame and pop it in position. And there you can see the dimension that we've achieved. There we go, so that's that layer. Doesn't that look pretty? Okay, so we're going to put that layer to one side, and we're going to grab this layer here, and I've got my skyline and my trees. So again, we've just got a little bit extra at the bottom there, but we'll chop that off in due course. So we'll just get my tape pen and pop myself some tape down on there. And I reckon it was about there. So that one's flat against that layer, and then we're just going to chop that excess off the bottom. We don't need that. And then we're going to put our skyline, our trees down, and I reckon about there would be good. For those, again, we want to make that 3D. Okay, so that should be good because we've got everything in position. So then we just want to pop that. Let's have a little look. Yeah, I think that looks good, so let's push that down. So again, we've got a lovely dimensional jewel layer on that section. Okay, so now what I want to do is put my layers into my panorama card. So we're just taking each little hook and hooking it into that side, and then I'm going to take the next layer and hook it in on this side, and then hook the other side into position. There we go, so that's that side all hooked up, and then we're going to hook this one in. So that's our panorama card so far, and then we're going to put our panel on the front here, and that covers all our workings. Yes, so we're not going to use this piece, which is what I thought we might not end up using it, because I really want to just make use of the lights and then put the snowflakes in the corner and everything. Right, so about here. And that is so sticky. This is lovely tape pen. And then I'll stick over the top of it in a minute with a bit of tape, just to hold it in position. So all I'm going to do is take a little bit of my double-sided tape here and just pop it over the top so that it just holds it in position. Because of the glitter, we want to be sure that it stays where it's supposed to. So that's that bit. I want to add my die of my reindeer and my sleigh. So let's pop those on first. So we want that right down the bottom here. So I'm just using my Cosmic Shimmer glue here and just putting a little bit of that onto the bottom of my sleigh, and then okay, so I'll just stick that down on our piece of card, and then our reindeer. Okay, so we'll let that dry. Actually, before we stick the snowflakes on, I think I'll put this onto the front of our card, because then I will get to see how this all positions up nicely together. I think that looks so beautiful already. Okay, so I think the best thing is if we put the red tape down the sides here. Okay, so then we're just going to take off the red tape backing and stick our front piece down. So then grab this piece, and I'm going to do one side at a time on there, and then over to here and stick that side down. Okay, so I've just realised that I made a bit of a boo-boo in that I've put the deep sides at the top and bottom instead of the side, and those would have covered up just those inner panels where the folds have come. So what I'm going to do is I cut an extra piece of this. I've cut it, I've used it on the wrong side and glittered it, and I'm going to pop these down on the inside here and stick them in, and I think that'll just hide that little bit of workings and actually look really pretty. So again, maybe it'll be a bit of a happy accident. So I'm going to sort that out and stick that down, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so I've popped those in and I think that looks so pretty. Actually, I'm really pleased with that, so I definitely think it was a happy accident. And then the last thing I've got here is my snowflakes, just to add those on. And what I'm thinking would be fun is to put them on as a little bunch there. So I've positioned those, so now let's just get my glue and stick them down. So we'll start with the little ones at the side and then we'll go to the big one afterwards. And it's just popping a little bit on the back of each one and just sticking it down, but I'm just doing that in the center. Like so. And I'm going to do this big one here, and I'm just going to use a little bit of glue gel. To pop that down. And then that one in the middle there. I've just got my sentiment. And we just pop that in. Okay, and here is our finished card. I've put the sentiment on there in the corner, and I've just put the snowflakes that I had in the corner on top, and then you can just see the blue of the sky in the background, and all those layers are beautiful, sparkling. And then we've got our reindeer and sleigh on the front, and I just think it's come up really beautiful, so elegant. I hope you agree. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.